Coming. Hi, good afternoon.
We don't know what we're doing, ladies. Yes, and it's
Okay,
all my fault because I have to, usually we start at 2, but we have to leave at 2 for an appointment. So I said to Erin, okay, let's start at 1. But she thought I said 1:30.
I know.
So here we are, and is
We're a little
anybody
bit
here?
early.
Most probably nobody's here.
Well, they'll see it come up in about
you catch
10
up?
minutes. They will. But I'm so glad we get to be here today because, somebody already popped on.
Oh, you are so wonderful. Yes, because here we're just making, not, mucking it all up for
and
everybody.
she was here at 1, and I was sitting in there in the other room. I thought she'd be here at 1:15. Wow, we'll get it all sorted out in the end.
Yes.
And you can always watch the replay, so that's the beauty of it all.
Yes,
I'm going to get this down really well.
Actually, I often wonder how many people are able to just suddenly stop everything at 2. So, but it's great. You can just pick it up at any time, can't you?
That's really the truth.
Yes.
All right. Well, we are back here because of our conflict of time. We don't have a lot of time today. So we just wanted to encourage you on a few more points that we talked about after our last talk show, didn't we?
That's right.
We did.
Yes.
I said there was a couple of things that I wish I would have said, and I talked to her about it, and I took a few notes, and then we decided that we were going to talk about it with all of you, and that'll be our mini session today. We'll talk about a few things, and then next week we'll do the 3rd verse of Proverbs 31. Well, it's not the 3rd verse. It's actually Proverbs 31, 12. We're on 11 right now.
Getting on to 12. Wow.
So really, Proverbs 31 as a recap, we are Proverbs 31, 11. You can read it because she just reads so eloquently.
11. Oh, I know that one.
Here.
The heart of her husband doth safely trust in her, so that she hath no need of spoil.
Yeah. So we were going to talk a little bit about a few other things. We were going to share this keeper tip here. Remember that? Yes. So basically, I was showing her in my book, I have these little tickets in the corners sometimes where I have little tips that I share with people. And this one was the modest mirror test. And it's something that an older woman in the Lord taught me when I was a young mother, because I didn't realize. A lot of times I'd just bend over picking up my babies and stuff, and I never even thought about the fact that sometimes
You were
our
hanging
shirts,
out.
sometimes the shirt opens all the way and you can see everything down. I never thought of it, and it wasn't my fault. I wasn't being naughty or anything. But when somebody brought it to my attention, I was really thankful. And so she said, well, just bend over in the mirror, do the mirror test. So basically, you bend over and in the mirror before you go somewhere. And if you can see everything, well, maybe your shirt is a little bit too low, and you can always find like a little tank top or something to put under or something so that, somebody can't see all the way down. Or if you raise your arms, if your shirt goes all the way up to here, then, well, maybe the shirt's a little bit too short.
Oh, read this, because I think it's
Okay.
good.
Look in the mirror while you bend over. Can you see your goods? If so, the shirt is too open at the top. Next, raise your arms. Does your shirt go so far that you can see your bare belly? If so, your shirt is too short.
Yeah, good test, isn't it?
Sit on a chair in front of a mirror. A lot of people have these long mirrors that go from floor to ceiling. You can sit on a chair right in front of the mirror. If you can see up your skirt when sitting or shifting in the chair, then your skirt is too short.
Yes.
So that's easy. Anyway, so we were just
I know, it's amazing what we don't often notice.
We
Because
just don't
I remember
notice.
seeing the most gorgeous, lovely, godly girl. She was sitting in our home, and oh, hell, I couldn't look because I could see right up. And yet she was the most, that would have horrified her. And but she just didn't realize, and so
A lot
I
of
had
us
to
just
tell
don't
her, and never
realize.
again did I ever see that, you know. And sometimes we do need to remind each other. Like I remember back in the early days when I was a young mum, and it was the day of short skirts, and I wasn't wearing the short skirts like everyone, but I must have had on a skirt that was, you know, sort of semi-short or something, because this older mother had to talk to me later, and she said, "Nancy, I saw you bending down to your babies." And that time I had 3 little babies, and I had my oldest son, and then I had twins 17 months later. And she said, "I saw you in the street, and you were bending down in the pram," because back in those days we wheeled prams, you know, and
Big old
yes,
prams.
these great big old Victorian prams. And she said, I noticed you just bending down to tend to the babies." And she said, "As you did, your skirt came right up, and it didn't look very modest at all." I just thought I'd tell you that. And but you know what? I was grateful.
Yeah.
I was
I
grateful that she told me, because
that takes a lot of courage for somebody.
it does,
Especially if
actually.
they're not meaning it in like a judgmental way. They're doing it to just kind
They're
of...
doing it out of love and for your protection.
Yeah, and your husband.
Yes.
And other people's husbands.
Yes, absolutely. But I think it often is harder for you to say something, because you think the people can think, "Oh, well, you know, she might be offended at me." I was reading a scripture the other day in the King James, and it was about how that, yes, rebuke can be good for you. That was the essence of the scripture, and I thought, that's powerful, because often we don't like rebuke. Oh,
No, it
no one
hurts
likes
sometimes.
rebuke, but if we can realize that often rebuke is so good for us, it's what helps us mature and grow. And I decided to look it up in some other translations, and I looked it up in the Passion Translation. Wow, it was really powerful, and it said that I wished I brought it with me, but it said the essence of that scripture was that we are to swallow rebuke without an offended heart. And I thought, how great. Sometimes we've got to swallow it, but we don't swallow it with feeling bitter. We swallow it with an unoffended heart.
Yeah,
Isn't
that is beautiful.
And that's
I love
being
that.
teachable. My prayer, often I pray, "Lord, keep my heart soft. Keep my heart teachable." Now, I am an older mother now, maybe an ultra older mother. I'm a great grandmother, not just a grandmother. But I still have to be teachable and meek and have a soft heart, because I'm not perfect yet. All these years and I haven't made it, ladies. So we all just need often to even have that godly rebuke from one another.
Yeah, it's just love. Another form of love, tough love maybe. I don't know how you want to say it, but
That's a good tip, I think.
yeah, I think so. I mean, it's doing it for your husband so he doesn't need to spoil, because you don't really want to share that private stuff with everybody else. That's kind of what we talked about last time.
Yes.
And then the next thing we wanted to talk about is in my book I have a little bit of an lessons in etiquette, and this particular one is charity doth not behave itself unseemly. Lessons in etiquette about the telephone. And so I went on to talk about calling hours, how years ago civilization had calling hours, certain hours of the day that people could drop by and pop in. And do you remember those days?
Oh, yes.
When people would just pop in before like telephones were, now we have these smartphones, and you've seen the evolution of all of this. You've been through it all.
Yes.
And you've probably noticed a lot, haven't you?
Before we had iPhones and that, it was just it was easy for mothers to get on the telephone. And that can be, I guess people still talk on the telephone. And what do your children do when you're just having a good yarn on the telephone? That's when everything goes haywire. And, sometimes we've got to watch that we're not just, yapping on the phone, or now it's more we're just taken up with social media, and we're not attending to our children. You know, they need us, they need our attention, and we're just taken up with that.
Yeah, and there's a lot of times you're in a conversation with somebody and their phone, I've been around a lot of women where their phone beeps, like some notification tells them that somebody left them a text message, or maybe it left them somebody commented on one of their posts or some other kind of a thing, and they look at their phone, and then you're trying to have a conversation with them, and they're like beep, and they're like this and looking at it, and then they put it back down, and I can't even remember where I was in the conversation. Sometimes they'll start texting while I'm still talking, and I just usually stop and I just wait, and I'm thinking, really?
Well,
I don't even keep my phone with me when I'm in you've never seen me, have you?
No.
I never have my phone when I'm in a conversation with somebody, or I'm teaching school, or sometimes it's hard for you to get a hold of me when I'm teaching school because I don't keep my phone.
Yes, you don't have your phone there, and that's good. And I don't ever do that usually unless it's an emergency. Like today, I said, I've got to come earlier.
Right.
But it was quite hard to get hold of you, which is very good. That's a good testimony, actually. It really is. I have to say, you're not meant to get offended, and I'm not really ever get offended, but I'm sorry. I'm sad that there are so many people who do just what you say, and you're talking to them. That's really, their phone is more important. Their messages, because they're married to it, is more important than you, and you're right there with them. Really, you might as well just walk away and go and do something, because they're not giving you their undivided attention.
Right.
It is the rudest thing in the whole of the world.
It is.
But I know none of you would ever do it in your lives.
No.
Would you?
No.
Ever? Because it's so rude. And none of you are
rude.
like that.
I know. So and then especially like if your husband comes home, I've noticed that, and it can go both ways. Sometimes my husband will come home and he'll start scrolling on his phone, and it drives me crazy. I'll say, "Hey, I'm over here. I'm so glad you're home." And then he'll be like, "What? Because he was so enthralled with like trying to, it's always his news.
Go up and just give him a great big smooch and hug, and because the phone just throw that out of the way and But really, a lot of people, it is a real thing nowadays. You can be in a room with people and they're all supposed to be talking to each other, and they're all looking at their phones. Have you seen that with a lot of the young people? Oh, yes.
Or if you go into a restaurant, you'll see everybody sitting around the table and they're all sitting on their phone and looking at their phones. So
it takes discipline. It takes discipline not to do these things. But we have to remember we're in life, and we're not meant to be married to these phones. I mean, they serve us, and they do. They can be a good service to us, and I think if we can remember that they're our servant, but they're not our ruler.
Right, and you're not a servant to it.
No, that's right.
Well, I told my oldest son, because he lives with us now, but I mean, he's lived away from home too, and he got into the habit with, like there's these things called Snapchat and things, and he's got probably like 50 friends on there that make him a message, and then he wants to make a message back to them, like with a photo, and he feels guilty if he doesn't answer them right away, because he feels like then you almost become a slave to those people too, because if you look at their message but you don't message them back right away, then they feel offended because they feel like you left them on red, is what they said.
I have a question.
Yes.
What are they all doing? When do they work? I mean,
yeah.
I wonder.
Right.
When do they work? Because the day is for work.
Mm-hmm.
I believe that. Even, we do have a TV in our home. We never watch a program in our lives. Like, people talk about a program, I've never heard of it in my life. But my husband just likes to watch the news. He'll watch Hannity, and that's about all we ever have it for. Mm-hmm. But to think, I have never in my life believed in putting on a TV in the daytime. Mm-hmm. I beg your pardon. The day is for work. And the evening is to relax and fellowship. And so how can people be so constantly on their phones all day? Are they doing their work properly? Is it, I don't know.
I think it's a battle that we're in right now. It's a battle on, and I believe that it's a distraction. It's a tool that can distract people. And I've heard more and more marriages are going to spoil because of these social medias sometimes. And here we are, we're on social media right now, and it can be a good thing where you can teach people different things.
It can be good, so use it for good.
If you're listening to something that's going to edify you, that's one thing. But some people are married to these social medias, and they're on them all the time because maybe they're trying to run a business. I used to do that, and I remember just constantly feeling like, oh my goodness, I have to help all these people because there's like 50 people that need to know some advice about how to take their products or this or that, and I was just constantly and like they're messaging me and they want to know more information or this or that. And even if I was on a date with my husband, I'd get a message and then oh my goodness, I gotta help this person, so I'd have to go into another room and talk on the phone. And I'm just saying that it can be a good thing, but it can also be very distracting, especially nowadays with, sometimes people, you hear stories of people getting together with long lost loves of their life, because they find them on some social media and they start chatting with each other, and then they because they may have been a sweetheart at a different time of their life.
That's
and
true.
It pulls them back in, and that causes your husband to spoil too. It's kind of
now that's something we
long lost love. Just say so long, so long.
No, don't get them off your jolly Facebook or your message.
No, I mean if you see their picture pop up and you're not friends with them, don't try to seek.
And I don't think that we should have friends on social media with the opposite sex at all, and nor should we ever be chatting with them. I mean, it wouldn't be right for us to go and spend time alone with some other man because, when we are married, we are made one, and there is not anything that's to get in between our relationship. We're cleaved together, and it's forsaking all others. That's marriage, okay. If you don't believe that, you haven't got a marriage, because that is what
forsaking
marriage
all
is.
Others.
Forsaking all others. That
and
means
all other
on
things.
Facebook and on whatever other social media, we have to make that stand that we're never going to be chatting with some other man, ever.
Right. There can be, and another thing is, this came to me. Now, let me know if you agree, because this is kind of, how it talks about in Proverbs the woman who's a busybody. She goes from door to door to door, right? There was a character of a woman she was an ill character of the Bible, that she would just go from door to, and she was busy about everybody else's business. And the woman is supposed to be the keeper of the home. Well, now we have the ability to be in everybody else's home.
That's right, a busybody without going out of your home, but it's the same spirit. You're right. I do believe that is so true.
You could be on Facebook and maybe you don't know, like maybe you've got all these friends and family members that are all over the country, and I hear it all the time, I was stalking you. Like people say, I was stalking you. So they kind of want to see what you've been up to, and they look at what everybody's been up to. Wow, what's the difference?
It's true. It's just the same
spirit
of a busybody.
Because you're kind of like, you're at home, but yet you're like looking into somebody else's life and into their home. You don't even have to leave your home to do it anymore nowadays.
I know.
You can do it from the palm of your hand.
I know. Yes.
So,
did you ever see that cartoon of these people that arrived in heaven and they didn't have any iPhones?
What were they going to do?
Well, this is how they were in heaven. And their hands were like that, but they didn't know what to do because there was nothing there, and they didn't know how to even survive.
Oh, yeah. And I even read an article just lately. They did an autopsy of a 20-year-old's brain, and they said, when they concluded on the autopsy, they said, this looks like a heroin addict. And they didn't even know it. but the person never did heroin in their life. And now the scientists are calling it digital pharmakia.
Wow.
Because it's a digital drug. And it acts the same way. It makes the whole frontal lobe of the brain have the same damage that heroin or cocaine have on the brain. So these people are getting addicted to their phones and onto social media or onto video games. Video games are another thing.
And the addiction is as strong as drugs because they don't know how to survive without their phone. They are totally, it's an addiction to them. They don't have the freedom that they can just leave it behind when they go somewhere or just, don't have to, we have to be free. We can use it. Let's use it as our servant, but let's be free from the power of it.
Right. But
we should not have anything in our lives that is a bondage over us and that we're a servant to.
Or bowing down to, like you do to the phone,
Absolutely.
And to the angel of light, the light form. I can just go on and on and on about it. I'm like one of these people that would ditch all the phones if I could, and I wouldn't. But I do believe the Lord has me in a place where, right now, doing like with the phone, I can do this little video thing.
Oh, I think,
and I feel like that's. I'm trying to
serve us,
because we can actually do a lot of good. Like we can learn about different things and help our families that way too. But it's all in moderation. You have to figure out a good balance that works for your family, between you and the Lord, between you and your husband and your family and your children, and make sure you're not like putting your children. It's almost like giving your little children the keys to the alcohol safe.
I know.
If you just give them a phone that they can just use at their own discretion. Even when I brought my children to the medical doctor, they had to have a physical for their sports. And when they went in there, one of the questions that they asked them was, how many hours do you spend on your device? Screen time, they call it, screen time. Yeah. They said, actually, it's ruining people's eyesight. Children are having bad eyes because of they're looking at these screens too close to their faces. And they said they don't recommend going over like 1 or 2 hours is the absolute most. And the average teenager spends, I think, I've looked at the statistics, it was like 4 hours a day in front of a screen.
Low to me. I think some would spend a lot more than that. The way I see them, just
because they'll watch a movie, or there's bad things they can accidentally stumble upon too. So, but anyways, there's a lot of different things
that I think about our phones too is that we completely bar them from our table when we come to eat together. I think we need to have a little bowl or something where they all drop their iPhones as they come to the table. I've had people come to my table because we have loads of visitors, and sometimes I've seen them looking down and underneath the table they're looking. I think, I beg your pardon, and I will say, I'm sorry, but we don't have iPhones.
I saw her actually scold another one of her daughters.
They're not tell secrets.
I had to scold. I saw it. I was just like, oh my goodness, this is awesome. She doesn't put up with it, I'm telling you. And you shouldn't. You shouldn't. I don't at my table with my family.
My family table, where we eat and where we fellowship and where we open the Word of God, is sacred. Yeah. My family table is sacred. It's where I gather my family. It's a very special time, and I'm not going to be have these distractions come in, because that's just like someone invading. It's an invasion. Actually. It's like what we are facing in our nation down at the southern border. What we are facing down there is, there's no other word for it, it's invasion. It's people who are wanting to invade our country without coming in legally. I was so upset to hear of these 12 Republican senators who did not go with Trump and who stood against him for getting the money for this war, for the wall on the southern border. I called my senator here in Tennessee, Lamar Alexander, and if you're in Tennessee, you call him. And just check the 12 senators. It's just easy to find on the internet, and then it's easy to find their phone numbers. You just Google the name and up comes their phone number, and you give them a call and you let them know. Because none of us want our homes invaded.
No.
In fact, in Psalm 144, where God is talking at the end of that psalm about blessing a nation and all the blessings that are upon a nation when God is blessing, and one of them is there will be no invaders. Invasion is not a blessing. When you have people trying to ram their way in and they're not prepared to come in illegally. Now, my husband and I, we came from New Zealand. We had to work hard to get our US citizenship. It's not easy to get a US citizenship. It takes time and it takes work and it takes money. But we did it because we are so blessed to be a United States citizen. That was such a blessing in our lives. We don't take it lightly, but we didn't get it lightly either. And that's the way anybody should come into any country, no matter what it is.
Well, we have to do that in any other country.
Of course we do. So anyway, that's invasion. But these iPhones are also invaders into our time, into our family lives, and sometimes to our tables. I hope you don't allow that. So make it a rule in your home to no iPhones at the table.
Well, I hope this has been an encouragement to you. I'm sorry we have to.
Well, I'll just give a few more minutes. If you had the other points, we should try and finish them.
I had one more point.
Okay, what was that one?
Well, another thing that I have found, and I wrote about also, is sometimes when people have little children, and little children are such a blessing.
Amen.
But I've had conversations with people, and you can't hardly get a word in edgewise because the little children's like, Mom, 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 look at me. And, you know, it's sometimes, it's a good thing. It's just I'm just offering a suggestion that, you know, you can just train your child to. It was the best example of my entire life when I was a very young mother. My Miles was just a little wee baby, and he's 19 now. And I just learned, just from observing, one of my very dear friends, Janet Malone, she had 6 little children, and one of them, when we were in a conversation, because a lot of times you don't have a lot of conversations when you're a young mother, you don't really have company very often, but when you do, it's special. And so her little boy just sat there like this, and he waited. He didn't go try to interrupt our conversation. And she had her boy trained that when it was his turn, she would, so when there was a little gap in our conversation, then she said, "Yes, Thomas, I see that you've been waiting so patiently. What is it? Can I help you?" And then it was all so beautiful and wonderful, and it was peaceful. And I was so blessed by that example that I decided when I was holding my newborn baby, I decided that I was going to teach my children the same courtesies and patience. And it always worked so well for me. I could bring my children anywhere, and they would just go like this if they needed me. And then, you know, I'd finish the sentence, not just interrupting in the middle of a sentence. It just wasn't appropriate. And a lot of mothers, they just let their children interrupt all the time, and they feel guilty if they don't because their children need them. But the children will not, they will not suffer if they have to wait a few more seconds for you to finish what you were saying in your sentence. It's not a hardship for them, seriously. They can wait those few extra seconds because it's very rude. I mean, they shouldn't go through life thinking that whatever they have to say trumps everything anybody else says, that they can just kind of run the whole conversation that you're having and then interrupt their mother. Have you ever seen this?
Oh, goodness me, yes, it's so common. And I think that's another good little tip you've shared today. But, you know, I think it's good for children to learn to wait. That's another thing about today's children. Many of them, I'm not saying all, but many of them have never learned to wait for anything. They have to have attention right now, and whatever they want it right now. And their mothers are all in just a state trying to give it to them. Mothers, we don't have to be in a state. And mothers, we, just as Erin shared, we teach our children to wait. That's teaching them about life. In life, we're never going to have everything we want right at this moment. And I think it's a good thing to get children into the habit of waiting. Now, that means when you go to town, you go with your little children, and they see so much in the shops, don't they? And they see all these little, I was going to say lollies. I still use New Zealand words.
Yeah, but lollies is fun. It's like a candies or sweets candy. Or something.
And they want that, and if they don't get it, they throw a tantrum. I mean, I think we can teach our children that when we go shopping with Mummy, that they don't have to get anything. We are not actually going out to buy the candy. We're going out to get the groceries that we need for the family. Yeah. Now, of course, when your children learn to behave well, you'll often have little treats for them. And you're not going
it's just fun to bless them when they're being so patient.
But you don't ever give it to them when they're demanding it.
No.
And
I used to have the pep talks, I call them.
Yes. So
when we were in the vehicle, when I'd have 5 little ones, 5 and under, believe me, I know what it's like. 5 children, 5 years old, all the way to 0. And I would give them the pep talk before we would go into the grocery store. I'd say, okay, little children, we're going to be going into the special grocery store to get some groceries. So when we go in there, we need to be on our best behavior. Otherwise, we're going to have to leave. So we're going to get our groceries, but Mommy's not going to be buying you anything else. So you have to stay close to Mommy, hold on the cart, and then you're not allowed to ask for anything or touch anything. If you do, then we leave. So we did little practice. Somebody asked if you do practice conversations. Practice conversations. Have role playing. I did that as well. So you can teach them. That's what you are. You're their teacher when they're little. And then when they go out, you can do a practice. I used to do a practice grocery run. And I didn't need any groceries. I just knew that they would probably, the first time it would be like the example for all the other times. So we went into the grocery store, and of course somebody asked for something, and I knew that they would because children sometimes forget. And I said, I'm so sorry, but now we have to leave. We're going home.
Yes, that's
we can't
right.
go to the grocery
stick to
store.
Your word.
Yep. And then I filed them all. Nothing, no drama, no yelling, nothing, no frustration, because I was doing it as an example for all my future grocery runs. And I never had a problem after that one time.
Yes, exactly. It's all in the training. But let me tell you a story. I guess this is so hard for anybody to even comprehend. It just shows you how things change as the years go by. But when I was a child, oh goodness me, I could hardly wait for Christmas because we were going to get some presents all through the year. We never got anything, birthday of course and Christmas, but back in those days, we lived well, but we didn't live like people do today. People live, they waste things all the time. We live so affluently. We live in such an affluent society.
We do.
And we don't realize it, and we take it for granted. And, it's just amazing. In fact, in this absolutely affluent society, people think, they can't even afford children. And yet they don't even realize how affluent they are. But back in my day, guess what we'd get for Christmas?
What?
Could you believe it? In our stocking, we'd get a lovely gift, but in our stocking, we'd get an orange.
Oh, really?
Oh, yes.
Orange?
We never hardly had an orange through the year. They were so expensive back then.
Really?
Yes. An orange and a packet of raisins. In fact, even when my children were growing up, in their stocking we put a packet of raisins and little things like that. In fact, I can remember, after Christmas saying, and what did you get for Christmas? And of course, we'd have given them some other gifts too. And they would say, a packet of raisins. That's what they remembered. But those are just taken for granted today. That's just normal food. No. And if you got an orange, they were all just... To get a whole one for Christmas was unbelievable. Yeah, I mean, people don't realize how we live today.
Yeah, that's so true.
But we had to wait for things. And there's something we were waiting for. We really wanted. We didn't. Oh, the parents didn't. Okay, you can have that. No. Oh, well, maybe we'll get that for you for Christmas. And so you were waiting, and you could hardly wait. And the anticipation is, you could hardly bear it. It's so amazing. But you know what?
What?
It is so incredible. There's something so incredible about anticipation and waiting, the feeling of it. Oh, it's incredible. And then when you get it, it's amazing. Most children today have never had to wait and anticipate it. They've never even known that amazing experience.
Nope.
Because they just get it when they want it.
Mm-hmm.
And there's something about waiting. I mean, the Word of God, it's filled with waiting. Do you know that sometimes when we first come to know Jesus, He answers our prayers right away because we're little babies and we just perhaps need that more, okay, we need to know that God is there. But as we grow in Him and as we mature, sometimes our prayers just don't get answered right away and we have to learn to wait.
Well, it's not like the fast food joint, is it then?
No, we
So
have
it's not
to
like
wait on
a
God.
lot of people want to think about God as like the teller behind the fast food thing. You press the button and you say,
Yes.
I'll have this, and then they want him to say, would you like some fries with that? Oh yes, please, put some fries in there. And it's not even healthy stuff, but you just go to the thing, you hand the money, they give you the thing, but faith isn't like that.
No.
and even food, if you're talking about food, people used to be raised on the land and they had to wait 9 months before
Yes.
they could get milk from their cow because the cow would have to gestate for 9 months. She'd have her calf, and then you could get the milk. You
Exactly.
couldn't just push a
did.
button
We
and
did
say,
it. Yes.
milk.
When we were children, there was not all the deep freezers. And so you lived from season to season.
Yeah.
You ate what was in season. I can remember one season we just ate pumpkin and what was the other thing? I think it was beans. That was what was in the garden. Had that for supper every single night. And you ate what was in season. Of course, you preserved so you could have things during the winter. But you never had any fruit or vegetables out of season, ever. But now, most mothers wouldn't know how to live. Goodness me, I've got to have this. So you go down to the supermarket and you can find any fruit, any vegetable in any season from any country in the world. And it's at your fingertips.
That's right.
And we haven't learned to wait.
Mm-hmm.
Waiting is powerful. Learning to wait, it's a good thing for all of us. When we want something, we think we need something. We're always thinking we need something. But really, it's amazing how we can do without it. And it's a great habit to get into, to just wait. Lord, you know I would love that. In fact, we could just about need it. But Lord, just show us the best way to get that. You know, sometimes rather than just rushing out and buying it, you wait. God will give you the good deal. Sometimes He provides it miraculously. And so you miss out because you didn't wait. Oh, waiting. You see the hand of God. It's
true.
powerful.
It's
Waiting is an amazing thing. Don't deprive your children of the experience of learning to wait. It's part of life. It's part of our walk with God. Mm-hmm. And if they don't learn it when they're little, they're not going to know how to do it as they grow older and even as they walk with God. So don't deprive them. Sometimes as mothers we think that we're depriving our children if we don't give them what they want right now. No, that is depriving them. It's depriving them of character. It's depriving them of learning how to wait. And these are character building qualities.
I love that. I couldn't agree more. Amen.
Well,
I
do have to go because my beautiful, beautiful granddaughter, Meadow, she has just miscarried a second time. And this baby, they thought she was miscarrying. But then we've all been holding on for life. The baby's been, we thought the baby was there. And anyway, then after a week or more or so, she had to rush into the hospital because she was passing clots. And even then, they thought that she might still be keeping it, but then she lost the baby. So we've got to go down now. She lives 2 hours away. And
I know, and
take
she
a
wouldn't.
meal and
I
just
told her
be
that
with
she
her.
didn't have to come, but she didn't want to give up on the commitment she made to come and speak with all of you. So thank you so much for coming on here. I know
Yes.
it was such a sacrifice
And if
to
you came in halfway
rearrange her
through-
whole day, and she was rushing around. And
That's fine. But if
But
you
we're so
come in
thankful.
half time, we'll just go back and you can re-watch the whole thing together. And we'll be back next week, God
Yes.
willing.
God willing. Well,
We
thank
love
you
you
so
and bless
much. God
you.
bless you. Bye bye now.
Bye.